Something of a test of sobriety anyway, one way or another. It's a kind of a heavy drinker. It's a kind of pondweed, and it's a sort of vision. Russell Davies.
Well, now, I can't see that it would be a heavy drinker, because that is a megapototopa, probably. I think that's what you're thinking of. And why anybody should go to the lengths of calling into being a city called Campbell just so they could have this word potamogaton to flash about. I think the pondweed sounds suitably unlikely. I think it's the pondweed.
You do. Now, who was that? Yes, it was Prunella. You said that, didn't you? Own up. You mean you're not best pleased?
Potamogaton sounds like their old medieval dish, jugged cat.
Not frankly relevant, but it cheered everything up, Frank. More of that, if you please. Yes, quite so. Jolly good. Anyway, there, it's yes, it's pondweed. Now we have Lana, and, yes, Gayle, your turn.
Lana, excuse me.
Just start talking, he'll have to shut up.
Technical problems broken out here, but it'll be all right. You chat away.
Right. Lana, I'll talk to Paul, is a certificate used by Romans and signed and sealed by a Roman magistrate to certify that the bearer of this certificate was a heathen. In other words, that he worshipped pagan gods. And it was often carried by people who were afraid of being eaten alive by lions.
I see. Yeah. The lions could read, of course. You just showed them the
Too
certificate.
charming for words.
No, I'm just putting your leg. Frank.
It's ridiculously simple. It's a long, very strong pole. About a sixth of the way back, a bit sawn off and a cross piece is nailed on. And you shove one end under something heavy, and about 6 lads from the farm hung on the other end, and you lifted heavy objects, millstone, dead cart horse, huge mother-in-law who'd fought. These are just suppositions, because it was an implement for, in a very simple way, just lifting off the ground something very heavy.
Right, now it's, yes, Russell Davies' go.
Lana is a species of Mediterranean falcon, a bird not unlike a peregrine, but a couple of sizes smaller, according to whatever scale is used to measure peregrines in. It has the habit of uttering its cry as it lands.
Look out for me, that kind of
There
cry.
have been other birds that did this, but it's a fact which caused Longfellow to write, and I quote, "Downward fluttered sail and banner, as alights the screaming lanner."
Oh, no, he didn't.
Dot, dot, dot.
Oh, no. Not in 100 years.
It was about 100 years, yeah.
Trouble is, he wrote an awful lot like that, didn't he? Anyway, it's a falcon. It's a very long pole, and it's a certificate for saying you're a heathen should you meet a lion. Prunella.
I don't think it's a certificate for saying you're a heathen if eaten by a lion. And I don't think Longfellow ever wrote that either. Just because I've said that, he obviously did. I think it's a pole for lifting mothers-in-law.
Frank, you said all that about the pole. True or bluff?
It's true, isn't it?
Oh, it's...
Now, who gave the true definition? Let's see.
Downward
did,
fluttered
he did.
sail and banner.
Wish it had been that certificate for showing to the lion, but it wasn't.
Fight back,
Very
kids.
seldom is. Anyway, notchel is the next one, and Prunella will define it for you.
To notchel, it's an old verb, is to declare in public that one will not be responsible for the debts of a person named. It is obsolete. It's rather a pity. It would be lovely if it was still extant. Harrods Bank would be crawling with husbands notchling their wives' budget accounts.
Patrick, it's your go.
A notch is a sideways jab of the elbow. That's your notchel there. If you give a nudge without the notchel, it's a non-event. Thank you.
Paul Eddington.
Well, there's an area southwest of Glastonbury, southwest of the Tor, which is very marshy. Somerset, this is. And notchel, as it's pronounced in the local dialect, is a kind of style. And it's rather unusual in that it joins two fields not separated by a hedge, but separated by a ditch, a kind of agricultural ha-ha. So that it acts both as a sort of little bridge and a gate as well. Notchel.
Right, so it's a style from that part of the world. It's a jab of the elbow, and it's an announcement saying that you won't be responsible for somebody's debts. Gayle Hunnicutt.
Evening. I don't know, Patrick. A sideways jab of the elbow. You must never give a nudge without a nutchel. Is that right? Yes?
With a notchel on the elbow?
Notchel, yes. Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm glad that it no longer is in existence of people not declaring their debts. I like having my Harrods bill paid, so I don't think it's that. And I've never been to Somerset, so I don't really know about stiles and ditches and gates. So I'm going to think it's a nudge.
Nudge?
You do. That was Patrick, wasn't it? Yes. All malarkey, was it, or what? No? True or bluff? Here it comes.
Found in somber mood.
Nothing to do with the elbows or anything like that. I'm sure you want to know who gave the true definition. I certainly do myself.
Is it?
Who should have it?
She's got it there. She has it there.
I think that's already.
Quite right. One of those announcements of which Prunella spoke. Amma is the next. Frank Muir.
It's painfully simple, actually. It's a 3rd century Assyrian smoke ring. No, I mean, the mind boggles, doesn't it? Everybody's seen a mind boggling, it's yours. No. But the Red Indians didn't invent
a 3rd century smoke ring.
You know, messages with puffs of smoke. And that's what an hammer is. It's a Assyrian signalling smoke thing from 3rd century BC. It's an astonishing life, really.
Well, but fairly boring from time to time as well. Astonishing and boring.
I think that was rotten, Patrick. Russell, what do you say?
It's the prototype body belt of many centuries ago, a long strip of linen which gentlemen would wind round themselves as a preventative against appearing pear-shaped. So, if you hear of an Etruscan pot, it's probable that the owner forgot to do up his amma.
Frank usually makes those jokes, you know, Russell.
National Trust.
Well, very good, the two good ones. They're Gayle.
An amma is a mule, and it is distinguished by the fact that it's all white. But it's not an albino mule. It doesn't have pink eyes. It just is all white. And because of this unusual characteristic, it's considered to be very good luck by the Arabs. It's an Arab word. And the only problem with an amma is that, like most all-white animals, it tends to be a little deaf.
Well worth knowing. It's an Assyrian smoke signal, it's a white mule, and it's an early corset. Patrick.
Oh, God, a deaf white mule. There are no white mules. Nobody's ever seen a... Well, least of all, a deaf mule. A deaf white mule. Dear. Oh, this gets smoking drivel. I wrote down the word. I read it. Truss. Of course, everyone knows it's a Assyrian smoke ring.
The Assyrian
Let's see your card
smoke ring of which Frank spoke. True or bluff?
This is
Can you fairly see please? You've got the wrong card, haven't you, as well?
I can't get it open, but...
I can see it from here.
It's only a game, as I tell them both afterwards. It doesn't do any good. Who's given the true definition? In spite of the puns, it was true. It's something you wrap around yourself, keep your belly in. And now I think this is our last word. Atchison. Yes, Patrick.
It's a very, very sad word, this. It means... death. Somebody passes on, put it into a wooden box, they trundle into the hearse, but an Atchison is a hearse that's got little seats on either side of the coffin, on which the mourners sit. They turn inwards, peering at the remnants of Uncle Fred, what has passed on. That's an Atchison.
Paul Eddington.
An Atchison, like the doubloon and the groat and the farthing, is in fact an obsolete coin. A coin not exactly of this realm, it's of the Scottish realm. And in the reign of... Don't laugh. In the reign of James VI of Scotland, many an Atchison passed hands and pockets. One of its unusual features was that, although made of copper, it was coated in silver.
Prunella.
An Atchison is a cheap day ticket. Americanese for have it away day. Excursion. Well, as any railway buff will tell you, it comes from the original company that started these tickets, the Atchison, Topeka and Santa Fe. Line.
Yes. So it's a funeral carriage of the sort described by Patrick. It's an obsolete coin, and it's a cheap day ticket. Frank to make his choice.
It's not a cheap day ticket. Because...
How do you know? How do you know?
Male instinct. Male instinct. So I've dismissed that logically. Patrick's very interesting, all that garbage about the seats, a sort of wake break. And even less likely could it be a silver-coated copper coin. But as you all fell about with laughter at his definition, that is the one we will choose as the true one.
Which is then, just Frank,
it was the gentleman on your left.
Oh, that...
who gave the Scottish coin, Atchison.
The one dipped in silver, quite right. Was that, Paul, was that true or bluff now? Something of a bullseye! So there you have it. Well done there, yes. We've just about come to the end of the game. I'm stammering like this because we've got a few seconds to make up, that's about all. Anyway, the score standing at 6-2. Without question, Frank Muir's team has won. So then, we shall be photographing some more mirages from the Oxford English Dictionary next week. Until then, everyone says goodbye in order, beginning with Russell Davies, Paul Eddington, Gayle Hunnicutt, Prunella Scales, Frank Muir, Patrick Campbell, and goodbye. Hello, this is Call My Bluff, featuring the only 6'4" member of the little folk, Patrick Campbell.
I had to plough deeply into faulty towers to get my aid back again, Prunella's scale. And the other lad, after an unbelievable defeat last week, I sent for him again from the Good Life with Paul Eddington.
And the Stuart Hibbard of the panel game, Frank Muir.
Good evening. Reasonably enough, I've brought back the winning team last week. Actress Gayle Hunnicutt. And book critic and film critic of The Observer, Russell Davies.
Let's have a word. Ring the bell and we get one and we get Jerry Mumble or something like that. And I'm to tell you that Patrick Campbell and his team will define it 3 different ways. 2 of the definitions are false. 1 is true. That's the one that Frank and Co. are going to try and put their fingers on. I don't know why you're giggling, Patrick. I just don't know. But anyway, kick off with this one. There's a dear.
Because Jerry Mumble, a kind of 14th century edible glue.
Thank you.
I've barely begun. Which is quite like 20th century fudge. There's a bottle of milk, some honey, some flour, stir, over a small flame. Just before it sets, just before it sets, turn it into a little monkey or a rabbit, with the pleasure of the children who are going to eat it anyway.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Thanks.
Right. Right, we're off. Paul Eddington, his turn now.
The action of jerry mumbling is rather unattractive, but very necessary culinary business. It is, in fact, the gutting and cleaning of fish. After a stiff drink, I have been known to jerry mumble myself. I've jerry mumbled sardines. Anything larger calls for a stronger nerve than I have. That's what jerry mumbling is.
Right enough. Now, what does Prunella tell us?
Jerry mumbling, it's Scots vernacular, of course. It is to haggle, to wrangle, cavil, or dispute a point. You'll find that there's the Scottish slang, a jerry mumbler, which means a especially verbose or disputatious advocate or attorney.
So they tell you that this is the case. It's 14th century fudge, it's to haggle, and it's to gut a fish. And Frank Muir will choose one of those.
I accuse Prue of trying to mislead us by gerrymandering, which means to wrangle and dispute and talk too loud, which is an American word after Mr. Gerrymander. Finish. Right. That's not. So, edible glue. 14th century edible glue. I think, sir, I rest my case here, that it is the cutting and gutting and cleaning of fish.
You say then, Frank, that it's the gleeking or cutting of fish.
Yes. Put out that suggestion, yes.
Yes. Paul, true or bluff? Because you were the one who said it was thus. You're right. You've got a fish, you jerry mumble that fish, it seems. 1-0. Tenny dish we have, Frank Muir defines.
You've got your stained glass artist, and there he's got the glass in front of him.
Yes, yes.
And he's got the dye. He's got his dye here.
Yes, yes.
How does he get that to that?
He puts on it.
He puts it on, but he can't just throw it on. I mean, what does he do with it? Where is the dye?
I don't know.
It is in a tenny dish, which is a lump of lead, lead, which is scooped out, roughly, and the dye is inside, and then you put the dye from the tenny dish, pour a little on, then you work the lead round, and it works the dye into the glass. And that's what the chaps do who make stained glass. Yes, they do.
A bit of an attempt to deceive. Next, please.
Thank you. It's Russell Davies' turn.
As quaint old customs go, tenny dish is a good one. It's a Derbyshire custom involving, at one point, the lowering of a choir boy down a well. How far, you ask? How fast?
What for?
What goes on beneath? I can't tell you.
Don't rush me, boy.
I can only say it's part of a beating the bounds ceremony around Derbyshire parishes, and by extension, the word has come to mean parish too.
Sure.
Okay.
In Derbyshire.
Okay, you say so. Gayle, Hunnicutt.
Tenny dish is a very gloomy Elizabethan adjective, for it means to be wholly without light, to be thrust into the abyss, into pitch darkness. In fact, a very famous Elizabethan ecclesiastic was quoted as describing hell as being palpably tenny dish, into which the eyes of heaven can never see.
Smashing, girl. Well done.
Okay. Well, they say it's a kind of a container for dye that the man who's doing the stained glass windows uses. It's an old Derbyshire as opposed to Norfolk custom, and it's pitch black. Patrick.
Well, what we're doing lowering choir boys into wells?
Voluntary.
What happens at the bottom? It stays like it's hauled up again.
Hmm?
What a life for a choir boy. All this nonsense about a little piece of paint, you can grind it onto the... Yes. Of course, it's tin air, but it's something to do with gloom, and it's your little lot, Annie, isn't it? Let's see a true card just for once.
Stuff that Gayle told us about.
No, she's smiling.
Was she telling the truth, or was it a bluff? Didn't mean a word. Who gave us the true definition?
We get the
No.
Kind of a lead container for the colour that they put on windows. Musher is the next word. I leave that to Paul Eddington.
Musher. It's rather like a Jarvey, only a slightly larger way of business. He's a horse-drawn taxicab owner. Self-employed, so he doesn't get any dole, of course. And he's also the part-time driver. He keeps his this little fleet of taxis, and he keeps the horses probably in a mews somewhere. And he's also the owner of a rather florid countenance and a walrus moustache.
Yes.
That's what a musher is.
A bit personal, but there. Prunella.
Well, a musher should really be called a slusher because it is a sort of broom without any bristles. It's a wide-headed broom, and it's used in North America for cleaning the snow off paths. And from your back door, you have your musher in your backyard. And you sweep away the slush with it, with a mush.
Yep. Patrick?
A musher was a small bouquet of flowers carried by the groom and the best man and the groomsman at country weddings. Not the end of that by any means. Because after the bride had been done, after the ceremony was over, the groom gave his musher to his mother-in-law. A kind of symbolic swap. That's all about that.
Well, it's that kind of a bouquet. It's, I think you said, a horse-drawn taxi owner. Imagination boggles, and it's something you sweep snow up with. Russell Davies has the choice.
Well, imagination boggles indeed. The philosopher Eddington, you see, wants us to believe that this chap sitting on top of this carriage, going mush, presumably, isn't it? That's why he's a musher. Too likely, that. And a broom to propel the mush down the driveway. No. I think because the country wedding appeals to me, here, mother dear, take away thy musher. Lovely. I think that's a nice scene.
You're choosing
it
that
has
one,
to be a
you?
bouquet.
You will. You'll have
Unlikely
that.
though it seems.
OK, that was Patrick. Now he tells you.
You got the wrong wedding.
Who gave us the true definition of that interesting word, musher? Here it comes. 1, 2, 3, go.
Well done, Paul. Superstar.
Yes, indeed.
That's all, Rebecca.
The horse-drawn taxi driver, that's what it is. 2-1. Now, shoal is the next one. And Russell Davies to tell us.
Well, a shoal is nothing but a small puff of smoke, such as that inhaled and then exhaled during pipe smoking. And in the old days of the pubs, you would find a church warden's pipe often circulated among the clientele with the cheerful invitation, come and have a shoal, lad. That's all it is. Puff of smoke.
Yes. Right, Gayle?
A shoal is a word that is of importance to members of the Jewish faith. It's a commentary upon the Hebrew scriptures, which amplifies them and explains them, although leaving the writer free for allegorical interpretation.
That word, yes.
That word.
Frank, your turn.
You've got a boat. Not a flat-bottom boat, because it doesn't sort of count for that. But a round-bilge boat, right? You with me so far?
Yeah.
You haul it up to do some work on it. And you put balks of timber along the side, known as shores. You with me that far? Right. Now you say, being an intelligent girl, I'm not looking at him, being an intelligent girl, what stops the boat doing that and the shores diving into the sand? What stops them is shoals, which are feet, which are shoes, wooden shoes, which are bunged under the shores, thus stopping the shore being driven into the sand or mud. Is that all?
That seems to have floored you.
I think I've covered it.
Not a word from them. Well, it's a puff of smoke. It's a scriptural, a Jewish scriptural commentary, and it's a shore for a shore. It's something you, as he said, Paul.
Well, I rather think that if it were a puff of smoke, we would have heard of it.
Yes.
It seems unlikely that this very common saying shouldn't have existed in some form or another today. I'm deeply suspicious of the nautical term because, of course, it's so like a shoal which we know is a nautical term, though spelt differently.
Oh,
And also, you went on at such length about it.
Oh, interminable.
But, of course, this may be part of the game. I'm new to it, you see, comparatively. I rather incline towards the Jewish word.
That was said by you, Gayle, wasn't it? True or bluff? You have to tell us.
Well, looks as if we've done it again.
Oh, no. Here comes the true one.
well, you shove it under. You
In spite of all the acting, it was true. The shoal is what you put under a shore. Sempect is the next word, and I invite you, Prunella, to speak of it.
The Sempect was the War Office building in Constantinople, the Turkish military headquarters. Just incidentally, there was a mezzo tint of the Sempect in the Illustrated London News for July the 8th, 1876, showing its characteristic Byzantine facade.
Yes. I wonder what Patrick tells us now.
A sempect is an aged Benedictine monk. This poor old lad lying on his bare cot. He gets some privileges out of the age of 60. They include not having to scamper off to matins at 4:30 in the morning, and a sip of Benedictine if it's going, free. That's a sempect. An old semi-retired monk. Thank you.
They all end up on Call My Bluff, don't they? Paul Eddington, his go.
Sempect is the seed of a variety of North African millet, which had a peculiar use amongst 17th century pharmacologists. It was made into, the oil of it, made into a poultice, was used to cure an affliction known as copper face, which is sort of, no, it really was a sort of brownish discoloration, which is thought today to have been due to a vitamin deficiency, and apparently if clapped on the face for sufficiently long, it did it some good. That's what Sempect did.
Well, it's this sort of seed thing that made you better if you suffered from that. It was also the Turkish HQ in Constantinople, and it was a superannuated Benedictine monk. Gayle.
We're rather confused over here, but we'll dive in. Well, if the aged Benedictine monk didn't have to scamper off to matins, I would think that would be very much against the principles of being a monk. So I don't
What
think...
are they, anyway?
Well, we're going to that. I don't think I've been in Istanbul, and I don't remember ever. Mind you, I wasn't in the War Office, I have to admit, but I somehow don't believe it's a Byzantine War Office building. I think it might be a seed of North African millet, although I've never heard of anyone being a copperface. I think it's that.
That's the one you're going to choose, my dear, are you? Yes, that was Paul Eddington. I wonder if he was just fooling you or whether you're telling the truth. No, nothing like that. True definition, here it comes.
Of course,
got it.
Can't everyone know
Yes,
that?
indeed.
Surely you know that. Well, let's go, please.
It's the old Benedictine monk, yet again. Now, here's another word, perdonium. And, Gayle, you tell us.
A perdonium is a medicated cushion. A medicated cushion. And, you know, you see them in little shops filled with herbs. And although some are used for sleep, to put you to sleep, a perdonium is used for other kinds of therapeutic purposes. It's actually made up of bay leaves, and it is said to be efficacious in the cure of bronchial ailments, which the patient is considered to be able to cure by sitting on the cushion, hence the medicament going up through his posterior.
Whatever next?
Well, it would, wouldn't it? Frank.
Mine's a bit boring, actually. It's
It always is.
no, it's unusually boring this
good.
time because it's a term used in rhetoric for a little petty diversionary tactic. It's a little sort of argument you whip up to divert attention from the main body. Such as if Paddy suddenly says, "Oh, get on with it," or "You'll be going on forever."
Mm-hmm. Yes,
That is a perdonium.
Is it?
No, but that's what I'm pretending.
Russell Davies.
This lovely word is the refined word you would have used in the Victorian drawing room if you'd had to refer to that vulgar receptacle, the coal scuttle. Of course, you wouldn't actually fill the coal scuttle. You'd simply summon the butler and say, "Perkins, replenish the perdonium." Whereupon he would.
They claim, then, that it's a sort of medicated cushion that does you good, It's a debating point of no particular magnitude, and it's kind of a cold scuttle. Prunella scales.
We don't know at all, now.
Well, you're all trying to blind me with science. The medicated cushion, you're trying to make me think of a pomander or something, and that thing you said, Frank, you're trying to make me think of perdurable or something. Perdonium, you're trying to make me think of piano legs and harmoniums and Victorian things like that. It might be any of them. I think it's what you said. I can't remember what it was now.
Who's you, Prunella?
Frank.
Well, what he actually said was it was some kind of trivial debating point. True.
Yes, a trivial debating point. That's what I think it was. Oh, I
No. Need to know now who gave the true definition. 1, 2, 3, here it goes.
No, not poor old Perkins. Nobody believes it.
Perdonium, coal scuttle. Coal scuttle. And score standing at 4-2. We have the word rumper. Patrick, your go.
A rumper is a light rowing boat for a single sculler.
Very suitable, yeah.
This is my work, not you. You get your turn later on. The first rumper appeared on the Thames in 1886. But its front and back ends were exposed to the water. Later on, people found that if they were rowing around with their rumpers, the water pouring in over the front and over the back as well. I thought how to avoid this. They put a bit of canvas over the front and over the back. Because the water came still into the middle of it, but they rowed away like mad. Huge men, flea-bitten vests up and down the Thames estuary. They pull away with their rumpers like anything. You got all that down, Frank?
You want to say some more?
No, that's enough.
No. Well,
Paul, sketching in briefly what the rumper is.
Have a brief word. Paul Eddington, yeah, why not?
Yeah, this is a shepherd's word for a sort of American tar of the consistency of molasses in the state in which it was sold and manufactured. But diluted, this made a very efficacious sheep dip, and it killed all sorts of ovine parasites like ticks and fleas and all the rest of them.
Good enough. Now, Prunella.
A rumper was a sort of mid-17th century Willie Hamilton. He was a supporter of the so-called Rump Parliament, which, of course, I don't have to remind you, was a group of ardent Republicans bent on dethroning and disposing of Charles Stuart, King of England.
Yes. It's a supporter of the rump, that particular one. And it's a racing boat, singly manned, and it's tar that was pretty good for sheep dip. Frank.
Oh, dear. Very worrying, Paddy's rowing boat. Water comes in the front and the back. But in a rowing boat, the front is the back, isn't it? Because they go backwards. I'll come back to you. This spoiling American sheep for ha'porth of tar is also playing on the word rump, in a family programme. I'm not really certain that's a terribly good thing. The rump and the rump parliament sounds frightfully good. So it's really a question between the three of them, isn't it? My friends have turned round me, all smiles to the camera, and said I hadn't the faintest idea. So I'm going to go for the rump parliament. I'm going to go for Prue's.
Yes, she did say it, didn't she? Prunella, own up. Go, yes. The rumper supported the rump parliament. It was indeed that sort of would-be Republican. 5-2, and the word is trucks.
Right then,
Frank.
Trucks is a fiery drink from the West Indies. Is this a quickie? I forgot to...
No.
By no means, not so far as I know.
Let me take you away
Begin at the beginning.
where the sun shines to the West Indies, where they had a fiery drink, which was a sort of cross between rum and ginger beer. In that,
Next, please.
it was made from rum, or molasses and stuff, and ginger root, black ginger root. And that's really nothing I can add to that, usefully. I could sing a song if you're short of time.
No, I think, well, we might call on you later, but who knows? Let the others have a
I'll
go.
be waiting.
Right, Frank. Russell.
Trucks was a medieval indoor game resembling billiards, but the table had no pockets at the sides or corners, but 13 holes in the surface of the table. And it was played with wooden balls.
13 holes in the middle of the
13 holes dotted about the table. And apparently, Mary Queen of Scots, awaiting execution in Fotheringay Castle, I believe it was, used to play trucks with her lady-in-waiting.
Gayle.
Trucks is a word that I doubt that any of you would know, unless, of course, you've served time as a guest of Her Majesty. In which case you would know that it is prison slang for that period of prison exercise when you go into the yard and you walk aimlessly round and round in circles. Trucks.
That you say, right. It's kind of prison exercise, a rather potent drink, and a sort of game of billiards. Patrick.
I'm speaking from an empty mind, devoid of hope or joy.
You should be a politician.
If you hurry, we'll get another one.
Obviously, it's a prison word.
Prison word. Now, Gayle, you said that. True or bluff? Show up. 1, 2, 3. Nothing.
You're getting good and tired of saying bluff.
Except the true one. Except the true one. You've got it there somewhere. Produce.
The pot black.
Oh, he's right.
The age.
Look. My goodness, you'll have to be quick. Let's do this word just for that. All backwards, lads. That's it, yes. Talkie. Paul. Very quick.
Yes, it's a sort of a marquetry made with little bits of bone or...
That'll do nicely. Lovely. Prunella.
It's jangling together of handbells. It's
Yes,
little jangling
yes.
together at the
Jolly
end.
good.
Hand-
This'll test them. Patrick.
If the lid falls off your talc tin, you get all talky.
Quick. Russell, choose.
Without a doubt, it's marquetry. It's marquetry.
Marquetry, you said that, did you not, Paul? I mean, you said nearly that before I stopped you. True or bluff? Yes. Got it there.
What a shame.
No! May we quickly have the true one? Quick, the true one. The true one. Ah, in your excitement. Yes, it's there. I knew. It's covered in talc, is talky. That's what talky is. Covered in talc. Oh, what an exciting finish. Makes it all worthwhile. But anyway, there. And you pulled up by one. So the score standing at 3-6. Nonetheless, Frank Muir's team has won. So we shall have another trip through the cobwebs next time. Until then, goodbye from Paul Eddington, Russell Davies, Prunella Scales, Gayle Hunnicutt, Patrick Campbell, Frank Muir.
Good night.
And goodbye. Let me welcome you to Call My Bluff, to which the rector of St. Andrew's University adds a little tone. Yes, Frank Muir. It's true, it's true.
Good evening. I'll ignore comments from the other side of the house, the chamber. Good evening, my first guest. Burst most beautifully upon, who's an actress and hasn't been on this programme before, burst beautifully upon the screen quite recently, and it's a bit of a Cinderella story because it's Cinderella herself from The Slipper and the Rose, Gemma Craven. My next guest is a bit different. He's a bit ugly, but he's a writer, a novelist, very funny novelist, who also writes very funny novels, which aren't always the same things. And he wrote the Virgin Soldier books and Tropic of Ruislip, and his latest one is Dangerous Davies, and here's Dangerous Leslie Thomas.
And the tallest admiral in the Irish Navy, Patrick Campbell.
One doesn't often meet a sultry beauty in these hard times. My first guest is a sultry beauty to be given the brother's terrible trouble, Kate O'Mara. And the other lad is a chunky thing who's been doing a superb Emperor Augustus. Brian Blessed.
After those enjoyable preliminaries, the game begins with a ring on the bell and the word choppy moors. Frank Muir and his team will define choppy moors 3 different ways. 2 of the definitions are no good, they're false, 1 is true, and that is the one that Patrick and co are going to try and pick out. So tell us about choppy moors, Frank.
Choppy moors is a kind of cold country Hobson-Jobson. It's a jargon which the Hudson's Bay Company used to talk to the North American Indians and Eskimos, whom they employed to trap and things. And it contained more gestures than words, which was a very good idea. Because, I mean, if you go, or, I mean, anybody knows what you mean. So it contained a lot of, and,
Oh, dear.
Now we have Leslie Thomas, he tells us.
Choppy moors are a small, brown, boring sort of oyster that lives in the Delaware River in the United States. The extraordinary thing about choppy moors is they are apt to be homesick. And if they're transplanted elsewhere, they just don't grow. On the other hand, some people think it's because there's a lot of sulphur in the Delaware River, and there's a useless piece of information for you.
Thank you very much for it. Anyway, thank you.
Yes, it's not the first and it won't be the last on this programme. Gemma Craven.
Choppy moors were a style of 17th century ladies' footwear, which consisted of shoes raised grotesquely above the ground by thick cork soles. Now, of course, these days they're very fashionable and are worn by very reputable ladies. But choppy moors were once described as high shoes for low women.
High shoes for low women?
Yes, yes. Why not indeed?
Tonight, thank you.
Yes, it wasn't bad. So it's a brown, boring oyster. It's footwear of that sort that the lady described, and it's a sort of pidgin English. Patrick.
Not easy. Not easy.
Steel yourself.
It's my turn now, dear. Wait for it. Your turn will come. They're not brown oysters, absurd nonsense. They're not high shoes. Got Eskimo Sign Language.
The pigeon... Ah, Frank. Yes, Frank. True or
Card
bluff?
that, please, quickly. It's a bluff.
Lovely gesture there. Very good. We need to know the true definition.
Oh, no!
Yes. Right. All she said about the footwear, plus the joke, perfectly true. It was, high-heeled footwear of an early date. Calenture, the next one, and Patrick is going to define it.
called Calentura. It's some sailors, some English sailors adrift in the tropics. They get a high fever, 102 degrees perhaps. And they say, let me out. We're surrounded by fields. No, lad, this is the sea. It's fields, I want to walk on it. He got calentura terribly. Hallucinations. Fever.
Sounds desperate. Brian, blessed.
Well, calentura is a natural mineral mixture. It's an alloy of tin and zinc. It's mined in the Far East, notably in Siam and Malacca. And one of the cottage industries of those areas is designed to spreading out and flattening the calentura metal into sheets and fashioning these into tea caddies.
Just the thing for the mess. Kate O'Mara.
Calentura is a grand, rather snooty name for the stalk or stem of a cabbage. It's a word used, I imagine, only by rather refined hostesses, snobby ones, who might choose to describe their cabbage stalk soup as potage calenture.
Yeah, so it's a very strange fever. It's a cabbage stalk, and it's a sort of alloy. And Frank Muir is going to make a choice now.
Sorry, it's rather... I must lean a little occasionally. Well, now, I think tea caddies were made of cedar wood and plywood latterly. I don't think they were made of metal originally, unless they were precious metals, which zinc and... So that... very well done, Brian. But didn't fool this lad. Paddy's sailor walking on the weeds is interesting, because calentura sounds a bit like hot, doesn't it, in some way? But I think it's this silly cabbage.
The cabbage stalk of which Kate O'Mara spoke.
What do you think,
Was she
Kate?
telling the truth, or wasn't she? It's there somewhere. Yes?
It doesn't matter if it's true.
No cabbage stalk. We need to know now who gave the true definition of the word calenture. Here it comes.
Well, of course we have
Yes.
it all here. Sailors walking on imaginary seas. Just a little bit.
No, near miss there, Frank, but it really is that sort of fever which makes the poor sailor think that the sea is the land. One all. Shoe is the next word. Leslie Thomas.
Now we're back to the sailors again. A shoe, spelled S-H-U-E, is a sort of shovel with which sailors, they sort of put it into troughs of water and they throw the water onto the sails of the ship. Now this is not to get them clean or anything, it's merely to give them weight when the wind doesn't blow and the ship won't go. So if you see a sailor and you say, "Hello, sailor," and he says shoe, you know why. He'll probably throw a bucket of water at you. That's shoe.
So, now it's Gemma Craven's go.
Well, the practice of shoeing, shoe being a verb, can be observed if you pay a visit to the children's play area in Kensington Gardens. Because to shoe means to seesaw upon a seesaw or to swing upon a swing. They're not, of course, to do both at the same time.
No.
Dear little lady.
You're quite right, Patrick. Frank.
This is rather fascinating. A bit dull, but fascinating. Shoe is a coin, usually distinguished by rather imperfect workmanship. It's lumpen, or not quite round, or something, because a shoe is a coin which is struck during a siege. Quite a good example of it is there's a star-shaped florin made of brass, which was struck during the siege of Pontefract in The Wars of the Roses.
And very fascinating also. It's a sailor's shovel, it's a kind of a coin, something to do with Pontefract, and it is to seesaw or swing. And Brian Blessed makes a choice.
Let him do it, Paddy. He's big enough.
Yes, we disagree.
On your own,
yes, I'm on my own. Yes, I'm on my own. Yes, Leslie's story rings very, very true. All three stories ring very true for me. Leslie has a story of the sailor, and it certainly rings very true. And so does Gemma's story too, deliciously told.
Look impassive.
And Frank's story seems to be just that little bit over the top, you know, just that bit dramatic, you know. Leslie's story I must go for because he said exactly the same to me as Basil Brush said the other day. Hello, sailor, so I'll go for Leslie.
So Leslie it was who said that it was a kind of a sailor's shovel, true or bluff?
We'll get the right
He's
card,
got it there,
maybe.
I'm sure.
No.
Oh, no. Sailors may have shovels, but they're not called shoes. Who gave the true definition? Here it comes. They're pretending.
Yeah.
Not good.
Means to seesaw.
All right.
Ting-a-ling. We have Pilser. And Brian Blessed will define it for us.
Well, a Pilser is he who is equipped with a pestle and mortar, and he spends his working days producing medicinal pills. One of the strange insights into a Pilser is very revealing, and particularly in an 18th century foolscap paper. And the quote is, and I'll read it, the Pilser has a morbid secretiveness as to the soap and bread wherewith he binds his wares.
Fine.
Yes, that was a revelation. Now, Kate O'Mara.
A Pilser is a moth or fly or other winged insect that, tired of living perhaps, commits harakiri by flying into the flame of a candle, thus joining its ancestors immediately. Since the invention of the electric light bulb, of course, Pilsers have had a much harder time committing suicide.
What does Patrick say?
All join hands now and dance off into fairyland. I love online cynicism and disbelief in Tinkerbell. A Pilser, little fairy hobgoblin, but it got a kindly nature. Is a farmyard. Little Pilser sees the farmer coming on in bare feet, perhaps even. But he removes stumbling blocks and pools. He's a good little goblin. Rather sweet.
Very nice. So it's a pill maker. It's a kindly goblin, and it's a winged insect which flies into the light and burns itself. Leslie.
Yes. Very difficult. I'd like to think that...
Possibly.
Leslie's
no. Captain at the moment.
Yes. I'd like to think that Paddy's was true because coming from Ireland, he obviously knows all about leprechauns and goblins and things like that. But I don't think it's so. The first one, Brian's, sounds very convincing, actually. A Pilser sounds as though it might well be a man who makes pills. I mean, a Wainwright and all those strange crafts they used to have. But I'm inclined to think that it is, in fact, a moth or a fly which commits harikari or whatever you said.
Harikari used to be in film.
She said
It was Kate O'Mara. She's going to own up now. True or bluff, was it? You did say it was a winged insect. Ah! You're right. Didn't seem at all likely, but that is the name of the game. A Pilser is indeed a winged insect which does away with itself. Chod is the next word. Gemma.
Well, a chod is a communal kitty to which South Sea Island fishermen put their catch. And then they divide the catch amongst them and they can all go home and have a nice fish supper. The thing about a chod is that some lazy chap who comes along and just catches one prawn can toss the prawn in and get just an ample a supper as his good industrious friends.
Right, and now it's Frank Muir.
A chod is a fine old Hebrew word from a fine old Hebrew language. It's a portmanteau word which means materials. Chod. It's not sort of PVC shower curtains, not this sort of thing, but rich old velours and velvets, if they had them, and rich stuffs. Chod. You see if I'm not right.
Follow
Shut
that.
up.
3-1.
Follow that, Leslie.
A chod. A chod is an Eastern word, and it means a sort of rendezvous, a road junction, perhaps on the road to Mandalay or on the Golden Road to Samarkand or somewhere like that. And it was a meeting place, and if you had a sort of 4 or 5 star chod, there was usually a holy man, he was generally there for consultations. That's a chod.
So it's the total catch of fish from a group of fishermen. It's rich merchandise, and it's an Eastern rendezvous. Kate, your turn.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
start.
Gemma's, I think, confusing chod with chad or something to do with fish. I don't know. She's got it all mixed up there. So I don't think it's that one.
Oh.
The Eastern rendezvous. I'm glad that Leslie knows a certain amount about 5-star hotels and all that, but I don't think it's that one either. I think that Frank's was so outrageous. I think it must be the Hebrew materials or something, furbishings.
Yes, it came with a good deal of that sort of thing.
Of
True or bluff, Frank?
Yes, come on, lad. It's another bluff, isn't it?
Chod does mean exactly that. Rich stuff. We have hopperdozer, and Kate O'Mara will define it first. Here she goes.
Is it me?
Yep.
Right. Hopperdozer. To embark in a hopperdozer is a rather mundane and unglamorous way of going to sea. A hopperdozer is in fact a barge made fast to a dredger, into which the dredger discharges all the mud and sand and old prams, boots, whatever you have, etc., that it has dredged up from the bottom of the sea. Now, the hopperdozer is then towed out to the very deep water, where its contents are shoveled into, get rid of.
Logical?
Yes. Patrick.
Take the American nation, torn between Jerry Ford and Jimmy Carter. But suddenly they got a plague of locusts. And never mind for Jerry Ford, the other one. They'd take a sheet that has a double bedspread, you tack around it, a wooden frame, and put glue on the bedsheet and throw it over the locusts, who are feeding off the corn. They've won.
Wonder what Brian Blessed now says.
Hopperdozer, it could be abbreviated to hopper, is an Australian horse racing slang for bent jockey. Now, I don't mean that the jockey is bent over with arthritis or old age. I mean a jockey that, through a show of money, misuses his skills to make sure that the favourite horses finish up with the also-rounders.
Right, so it's a crooked jockey, he says. It's a kind of a barge, and it's a device for catching locusts. Gemma Craven.
you do it astonishes. No.
Yes. I'm sorry, what did Kate say it was?
Kate said that
Oh,
it
yes,
was
yes, that's
a
right, yes,
barge full
yes.
of mud.
Posh dump, yes. Well, I don't think it's an Australian bench jockey. You know? No, I don't think. Hoppadozer. Although it sounds rather nice. No, I don't think it's that one. The locusts. Be a good way of catching them if you ate them, I suppose. No, I don't. I think I'll go for the barge.
You think that
Yes,
is the right
I
one?
go for the hoppadozer being the
Okay.
barge.
Well, that's Kate. She said it. True or bluff? Oh, no. Not that. Who gave the true definition?
You've got to take a grip.
It's that sheet of plastic with the glue, and you sometimes catch a locust doing that. How or why, I don't know, but you know, it's 3-3. Now the game gets interesting.
What's wrong with a bow and arrow?
Stone.
Why don't we start with Frank and ask him what buffle means?
What a good, excellent idea, because it's so silly. It's a verb. It's a perfectly obvious word, buffle. It means to harden up soft water for the purpose of making beer, as you know full well. For instance, if you're making beer in Burton-on-Trent, which has very, very soft water, you've got to process the water, you've got to buffle it. So what else do you do but put it through a process involving gypsum and magnesium sulfate? I rest my case. What?
Full of protein, that one. Leslie Thomas.
Now, a buffle, as any ornithologist will tell you, I should think so anyway, is a big-headed duck. And it's to be found in Quacking in Carolina, in the United States. And it's not that it's conceited or anything, but it's got some very strange yellow feathers that make its head look very, very big. And this could be why it's also known as a butterball. That's a buffle.
Right. Gemma, what do you tell us?
A buffle is a leather pouch that's used by carpenters or tilers for carrying nails upon their person. Now, it's not been completely unknown for them to carry other items in them, of course, like half-smoked cigarettes and pool's coupons and even a change of socks. But its intended use is for carrying nails.
Okay, well, it's a pouch used in that way. It's a substance for hardening water, and it's a big-headed duck. Patrick.
But nobody, even in Yorkshire, even in Norfolk, would call a big-headed duck a buffle. Try for carrying nails. Why call it a buffle? Call it a pouch. I think all that dribble you're talking about, get a softening water, or do I? Thinks again. Because obviously it's right with the dribble about softening water.
The stuff about the magnesium tiddly or whatever. True? Was that true on Bluff, Frank?
I'll let you know, Robert.
Oh, good.
In a moment.
What a
The card mixed
sport.
up there. It's true, isn't it?
No. Just let's see who gave the true definition for this one. You won't believe it, will you? But there, yes, he's got it.
At last.
It's him. Yes, a buffle is a duck with a big head. Try not to forget that.
Buffalo
Colliery.
sauce.
Colliery is the next one, and Patrick kicks off.
If we have something called a colliery, like a living downwind of it, I'd put your house on the market instantly before it begins to puff it up, because if our little house, during the Christmas break, around about 3 weeks of Christmas, if our little house begins to work again,
What is it, man?
it's a glue factory, dear. You can buy a house south of a glue factory with a northwest wind coming, and you're done.
I think we'll stick with that.
It's a glue factory. So Brian Blessed now tells us what it is.
The Corrie were a race of 18th century bandits who roamed southern India, and they caused disruption and discontent and array wherever they went. And their main weapon of offence was a banana-shaped stick. It's not unlike an Australian boomerang. It's not unlike an Australian boomerang.
That's what it is, not unlike.
That's right.
It's not unlike. I see. Lovely. Always negative. Kate, your turn.
Colliery is known also as a harvest bottle and also as a Wiltshire piggin. It's a glass bottle, usually holding about a gallon, and usually provided with handles made of rope. And it was traditionally filled with cider or beer and passed around the harvesters for their refreshment.
Oh, good. Well, it's a sort of big jar, that kind of thing. Glue factory, or a banana-shaped thing, something like a boomerang. Probably doesn't come back, I don't know.
Bent Australian jar.
It's Australian. So, Frank, would you like to have a little choose?
Well, early last century, the races in India were going around strangling infidels with all manner of things, with toogs with hankies, but hitting them with bananas. This is a bit odd. Colliery. Well, I don't know. It could be. I don't think a glass bottle's it. Really, it just doesn't seem very, very right. See, we're stuck here with coal having reference in the French language to glue and neck.
Like coil, yes.
So I think it's the... Well, I don't, but I've got to think of one. Show us your card pad. Is it? Come on, flash it. Is it the glue factory? Come on, out with it, lad.
Level with him, Patrick. Is it glue factory or not?
Of course it isn't, you fool.
Let's quickly get the true one, and then we may just we'll squeeze another in, and we need to, don't we? Look at it, 4. Who gave the true one? Quick.
Here, of course.
Here we go. Yes. In fact, it's the stick and the bandits who used it, in case anyone gets clever with us. I think I'm right in saying that. Oh, yes. Last week, we've got to do this really fairly swiftly. Leslie?
Landen.
Yep.
Now, Landen is...
One word.
Yep, not too much.
To file a horse's teeth down.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Lovely. Gemma?
It's one of the tin sockets that hold the shanks of needles on automatic knitting machines.
Yeah, congratulations for saying that so quick. Frank?
My old man said, follow the band. Ave Maria. It's the chorus of the song.
So they say that it's the chorus of the song. It's filing a nag's teeth down, and it's part of a knitting machine. So, Brian, you can choose.
I think it's Frank.
That was very quick. Now, can you remember what he said?
No, remember what he said.
Yes. He said it was a... Well, he did all the singing. True or bluff, Frank?
Oh.
That's truly amazing. It wasn't the knitting machine, which you'd forgotten, and it wasn't filing the nag's teeth, which you'd forgotten, but it was certainly the one you remembered, which is chorus, blown on horns or sung or whatever. So that's what Landen is, and here we come, the end, and just by a whisker, it seemed perfectly clear that Patrick and his team have won. Very close running thing. Anyway, there you are. We'll be back next time with more broken biscuits from the Oxford English Dictionary. Until then, goodbye from Leslie Thomas, Brian Blessed, Gemma Craven, Kate O'Mara, Frank Muir, Patrick Campbell, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome to Call My Bluff, which is featuring television's Father O'Flynn, Patrick Campbell.
Father O'Flynn, lifelong Protestant. We're pleasure introducing. It was an Irish name called Kate O'Mara. On the right wing, the Emperor Augustus, Brian Blessed.
And in the Tom Keating role, Frank Muir.
And thank you, Bob. my first guest is, of course, back for the second week, the dancer, singer and actress all rolled together into the very tiny form of Gemma Craven. And in the blue corner, I have novelist, screenwriter, malviveur, Leslie Thomas.
Oh, yes, we get a word. Indeed, we get what look like two words, duk-duk. And Patrick and his team are going to define duk-duk 3 different ways. 2 of the definitions you may remember are false ones. One's true. That's the one that Frank and Co are going to try and pick out. So I'll ask Patrick to define duk-duk for us.
A duk-duk is surprisingly enough,
A duck.
not a duk-duk.
2 ducks.
It's a short-necked South American kind of white feathered cormorant. A sharp bird about herding fish into nets. The Chilean farmers watching the 4 duk-duks hanging around. They're after them, and they got a lot of fish. Thank you. Next, please.
Ta-ta.
Brian Blessed. His turn.
That was the nickname once bestowed upon the boys of the Duke of York's military school at Woolwich. It's a Dickensian-type academy for the education of soldiers' sons. It's unlikely that any old ducks are alive today because the school was disbanded by the War Office in the year of our Lord, 1886.
Right, Kate O'Mara. She tells us.
At the risk of infringing the Official Secrets Act, I have to tell you that the Duk-Duk is a secret society among the natives of the Bismarck Archipelago, which is, need I say, part of the island of New Guinea. In that the Duk-Duk exercises its authority by threats of mayhem and murder, it could be described as a sort of Oriental mafia.
Who could it?
So, a kind of a secret society, it seems. It's a cormorant as well, and it's a schoolboy from that particular school. Frank.
It's very beguiling, really, to think that you've got a couple of cormorants called a duk-duk, or maybe one cut in half with green peas. But military academy, splendid effort, Brian. Well done, lad. 6 out of 10 for effort, but wrong. So it's either the cormorant or it's this archipelago sect, which I think it is.
The secret society thing of which Kate spoke. True or bluff, my dear? Bullseye. What else could a duk-duk be but a secret society? And it is. So we have Geminies, but they'll pronounce it in many ways, I imagine. Frank, your turn.
Oh, Geminies. It's one of these. No words suddenly happen into the language. They always grow from the seeds of other words, as mushrooms might be said to grow from the spore of other mushrooms. And Geminies is a kind of spore word. If I make coin a word, then, in etymological term, in that Geminies is the word used by the early 18th century, late 17th century poet Jonathan Flavel, the Restoration poet, who used it for the first time and frequently, and it is believed now to be the origin of the modern expression by Jiminy. Beyond that, I cannot and will not go.
They've got like 4 minutes, Frank.
Pass like lightning. Leslie Thomas's turn.
Jimimies. Now, there's only one set, and they are a flight of stairs that go down to the River Tiber in Rome, and they go down the Aventine Hill. It's a bit gruesome, but in the old days, criminals were executed and thrown down these stairs or rolled down the stairs, and they used to splosh into the Tiber, and their blood used to spread all. It was a bit nasty. Anyway, that's the Geminies.
OK. Gemma, your turn.
Well, Geminies are the rudiments of grammar. They are, in fact, its first principles, if I may just quote. Geminies are the basic rules that govern the usage of words in the formation of sentences. That's to say, I is instead of I am.
What's wrong with that?
Or you is instead of you are to completely ignore the traditional Geminies of the English language.
So it's a sort of exclamation. It's Roman steps, and it's the rules of grammar. Patrick.
I'm a cultured man, you understand? The rules of grammar. We're not throwing down the steps. No, please.
Not in my reign.
No, not yet. It wasn't.
Could you whistle while you're thinking? The show's losing pace.
We believe here what some of us like her. If she's wrong, it's her fault. It is spores.
Spores? Spores wasn't exactly what he said. He said that he coined something that had the spore, was a spore.
Yep.
I was listening, Patrick, and he said it was an exclamation.
But she says it's that.
You'll have that, and you don't want the Roman steps, you don't want the rules of grammar, so that was Frank.
Frank?
Ka-chow.
I've forgotten whether it's true or bluff. May I have a little peek first?
Yeah, come on.
No, nothing to do. It wasn't an exclamation. It was something else. Here comes the true definition now.
Oh, no.
Yes. It's the little set of Roman steps of which Leslie Thomas. Let's ring a bell and have chapeau and invite Brian Blessed to define it.
The chapeau is an evil spirit that is alleged to have lived in the Caribbean Sea, and furthermore is alleged by the inhabitants of the area to be responsible for every local disaster, from crop failure to multiple hernia. The chapeau is apparently male and has a consort, known incredibly as Madame Kettle.
Really? Well. Kate O'Mara?
A chapeau is a featherweight unisex hat worn by the natives of French Guiana. It has a very flat crown and wide sombrero-like brim. And because it is made from sun-dried grasses, it is exceptionally light. And so it is also used by fishermen to buoy their nets.
Yes, so, and what does Patrick tell us?
I heard a lot of chat about diseases of sheep on this programme for years after years. This is not a disease, chapeau. It's a kind of sheep.
Get away.
A kind of healthy sheep. Browsy around the tundra of Tibet, but fabled in song and story because Dr. Fu Manchu's directors and producers saw this chapeau sheep and hated a great bear in that one and stuck it on Dr. Fu Manchu, his face. It had more class forever.
Yes,
Tibetan sheep.
It's a class of a species of a class of a sheep, and it's a hat, and it's an evil spirit. Leslie.
Well, I think the hat is a bit chapeau. Sounds like my French, actually, chapeau.
That wasn't the pronunciation.
No. Oh, chapeau. That caps it. All right. No, I don't like that one. I don't know a lot about Tibetan sheep. In fact, I don't know a lot about sheep generally. I don't really...
Non-you.
It's non-you, yes.
Oh, dear. Catching.
I think it's a naughty spirit from the Caribbean.
The evil spirit. Brian Blessed spoke of that, didn't he? So, Brian, what do you tell us? True or bluff? Nothing. Not an evil spirit. Must be something else. Own up. True definition comes. It's there. All that stuff about the sheep, and I don't doubt all the stuff about Fu Manchu was true. Flatty Ken is our next word, and Leslie Thomas defines it.
I'll tell you something that the Flatty Ken is not. It's not a bed-sitter in Kensington. But it's something like that. It is a place. It's an abode. It's an abode of robbers. You know, you've got the pickpocket or poo, that sort of thing, you know. Fagin's hole.
No, don't make
oh,
it
not again. It's a place where robbers or vagabonds hang out, and then they go off and do robberies and muggings and whatever. And it's somewhere they come back loaded with loot. That is a Flattiken.
So he says, right? And now it's Gemma, your go.
Well, Flattiken is a very unflattering Yorkshire adjective, really, which means in the manner of an idiot or a fool, sort of displaying the thought processes of a nincompoop or a dodderhead or something like that. Well, I certainly hope that you're not going to be so flat again as to believe that load of rubbish.
Oh, a double blouse, saucy, saucy. Frank?
Yes. A Flattiken is a north of the border griddle plate. It's a wee griddle for making your scones and your griddle cakes, do you ken? I'm having difficulty maintaining this accent. With your permission, I'll revert to Surrey. It's a thicker, it's kind of thick griddle plate thing for cooking griddle plate, and the cottagers, the bothies and so forth, used to take it up at night and wrap a blanket round it or a plaid or something and use it as a bed warmer. Isn't that a smashing idea?
So it means foolish, or it means a thieves' kitchen, or as Dr. Finlay told us, it's a kind of Scots griddle. Brian?
Yes, well, with Gemma, I feel, being a Yorkshire idiot, that I've never come across it in Yorkshire before, and I'm sure that I would have been given that title a long time ago. With Leslie, it was very, very convincing. Again, Leslie, with the robbers, we had my robbers the week before, and I feel robbers are out this time, and I just feel that it's absolutely a tour de force again by Frank. Moving from accent to accent, totally over the top. We must get the award. I must take Frank.
Yes, there seems no reason why we shouldn't. He said it was a griddle. True or bluff, Frank?
Don't admit a ceiling in my work. Over the top. No.
Not a griddle. Something else. Own up.
Not you
again. A Flattiken is a thieves' kitchen. And Bogomil we have next, and Kate O'Mara. Tell us.
It should not really be necessary for me to remind you that Bogomilism was rampant in Bulgaria in the 11th century.
Good lad.
Bogomilism was, of course, a free-thinking religious doctrine considered heretical by the Roman Catholic Church, and he who practiced it was naturally known as a Bogomil.
Oh, they'll never stamp it out in Littlehampton. Patrick.
Well, Bogomil got a harbour defence in the early days, Baltic Wars, Middle Ages. It fell down about 5,000 trees, all strung together with chains. I put them in the sea in order to prevent invaders entering the harbour of Riga. It's called the Bogomil.
OK. Brian Blessed now.
Bogomil is a dialect of the Russian language with local variations. It was once spoken by racers to the east of the Caspian Sea.
Steve races.
And all the time able to tell you about Bogomil is it is a very convoluted grammar and was exceptionally rich in verbs, but somewhat poor in adjectives.
Yes. Well, it's a kind of a wicked sort of free thinker. In Bulgaria, I think you said it was. A Russian dialect and a kind of barrier across the harbour of Riga. Gemma, Craven.
Well, I think the Russian dialect, it sounds rather unlikely. Knowing my luck on this programme, it's probably true. But it does sound rather unlikely, so I don't think that could be Bogomil. As for the free thinker, I'm not so sure. No, it's not the free thinker. I go for the trees and the harbour.
Yes, Patrick spoke of them at some length. Yes, true or bluff?
His face looks a picture.
Thank you.
No, nothing of that. We now have to learn who gave the true definition. Yes, indeed. Kind of a free-thinking sect. Score standing at 2-3. We'll have another word. And O'Frion, I suppose, is how you say it. Gemma?
Well, the Offrian, actually. There's a small area of the face, and it's above the nose and between the eyes, which is exactly as terribly important. Right there. Now, any commander will tell you that the Offrian, struck with the knuckle, well, it will just knock the owner absolutely unconscious.
The owner of what?
Of the Offrian.
Of the head?
Yes.
The owner?
The owner of the Offrian, when struck by the knuckle, unconscious.
Yes, of course you've got to strike him hard enough, I suppose. But there,
Yes.
Frank.
Offrion, I would say, wafts us back to those hot, still days of Athens, the time of the ancient Greeks, when it was a city-state of some eminence and some respectability and of some richness. And the citizens who didn't want to drink wine and water would take a mug of Offrion, which was a concoction of barley and almonds and
lemons.
What? Orange flower water.
Orange flower water?
Yes. Or it wasn't.
Leslie, your go.
Oh, this is a good one. An Offrion is an organ stop, and it's used to imitate the sound of a storm or a tempest. Only the very largest organs have this. And in fact, Wagner, he had an instrument like this in mind when he wrote the storm music for Got the Damarung. I got the Damarung, I knew I would. Got the Damarung. That's not bad, is it? Anyway, that's an Offrion.
Don't say it again, though.
No, all right. Yeah, that's an Offrion.
You give a high burnish to Frank's puns, I must say. That awfully good. It's a Greek drink. It's the place between the eyes, and it's a kind of organ stop that makes all that kind of tempest noise. Kate?
Well, you see, the word has a sort of Greek flavour about it. I think. So I'm not entirely convinced by Leslie's German nonsense. I take it was German you were trying to pronounce there.
Welsh, yeah.
So I don't think it's that one. The drink Frank mentioned sounds lovely. I'd love to have some, but I'm quite sure that the Greeks did have something of that nature, but I don't think it was that. I think that because of the OPH, as he sounds like to do with the eyes, I think it's Gemma's one.
Ah, well, that's the deductive thought there. Gemma, you said it, true or bluff? She's keeping us in suspense. But it's true. The Ophion is absolutely right. That's right. It's the place just above your nose and between the eyes. Chovy is the next. All three all. Jolly good. Chovy is the next one. And Patrick tells us.
A strange word called jobby. It described a kind of coffee. Coffee? Coffee, yes. It was some good coffee. It could be kind of semi-jobby. But bad coffee is not really jobby at all. But the really jobby coffee, it got a faint blue tinge of the coffee, the coffee beans. And it was jobby. Brother, it's jobby.
So that's when it's all very, very good. Brian Blessed.
Well, should you be planning a picnic party next June, or on the sands at Clacton, or you may have to contend with clouds of chovies. A chovy is it's a regional name. It's fairly common in Norfolk for the June bug. The pinhead-sized beetle, did you know, is a distant relation of the common cockchafer.
Yeah, that seems to cast a pall over things. Kate O'Mara.
If I may quote the Oxford Dictionary verbatim on this word, chubby, a verb, means to grumble or mutter like a froward or fractious child. Fortunately, it's a fact, as every understanding mum, including me, knows, that a child who chooses to chubby can be charmed or chivied into cheerfulness.
Just so. Well, it means to grumble. It means a June bug in Norfolk. I'm glad we got Norfolk in. And it's a kind of high-quality coffee, I think I grab you as saying. Yes, Frank.
Pin-headed-sized beetle, the June bug. The only ones I've ever seen are about the size of a golf ball, a fur-bearing golf ball. They go zonk into the wall, and so that can't be it, can it? There's chovy coffee rubbish. Patrick, really. Child grumbler. Now that has a nice ring to it. So therefore it must be the most unlikely, which is Patrick.
He said it was good, high-quality coffee or coffee beans, Patrick, didn't you? True or bluff, was it, lad? Oh, Chovy isn't the coffee bean, it's something else. Here they go, they'll tell you now. Yes, indeed. Oh. No, I think I had no trouble. I think he got the right one.
It was a baby June bug you referred to, wasn't it? Yes.
In fact, and in actual fact even, chovy means a June bug, you know, one of those things flying about. So we have fying at 4-3, fying, and Frank defines it.
Fying, I won't bore you. I don't know, I might as well. How many times?
I think
if you think of the basis of Bleak House, for instance, yes, it is legal actions which beggar those who are employing the lawyers and enrichen the lawyers. And a fying in Scots law is just that sort of thing, which enriches the lawyers and beggars the litigants. It's a phrase or a statement or a codicil in a will which they can argue about interminably.
OK, so Leslie Thomas, your turn.
Fying tonight.
You're doing it again.
I know, I don't know where I get them.
Kill her back.
Now, fying was a word which was current about the time of Robin Hood, and it was a word for an artifact, something made by the hand of man, and perhaps the arrow of a Fletcher or a knife or anything that was fashioned by the hand of man. Westminster Abbey, I suppose. Anything. That is fying.
OK.
It's all that, isn't it?
It could easily be. You never know. Gemma, it's your turn.
Well, quite honestly, fying has gone out of fashion. I mean, anybody fancy fying these days would be thought to be terribly square. What it is, it's the action or the saying of fie. See, if you're shocked, or to express about indignant reproach, you see. But you mustn't, however, mix it up with pishing.
Pishing?
So it seems that it's a kind of a debatable point in legal circles. It's an artifact, and it's to say fie, it seems. Patrick.
Say fie. I think after 2,000 years of legal dealing, I think you couldn't find a word to describe the kind of malpractice on the part of your legal advisor.
That's malpractices.
If we move along fairly swiftly, we'll get another word.
You've been fine.
Oh, no, perhaps he doesn't. Not that swift.
It's a
Oh, I'll put you on.
It's a thing made by hand.
That was what Leslie Thomas said, wasn't it? Was
As
that
best
true
he
or
could.
not? I don't think he knows.
It's almost both of them.
Who gave the true definition of that word, that interesting word, fying? Who indeed
Smart
did?
little Gemma.
Yes. So look, my goodness me, for all, you've got about no time at all. Ring, ring, thrall. I just want a few words. Brian.
Well, unless my eyes deceive me, each of us has been furnished by Mother Nature with not one but two thralls. A thrall is a breathing hole.
Right. That'll do. Breathing nostril. Excellent. Kate.
Yes, it's a gadget used by dairymaids for separating cream from milk. It's a sort of a trough which had a plug in the bottom.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Patrick.
It's an old gust of wind.
Wind.
So it's a kind of a gust of wind. It's something you breathe through, nostril, and it's a kind of a milk tub with, as you said, a hole in the bottom. So, Leslie, you have a choice.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh,
Doesn't matter.
I think it was the middle one.
You think it's the middle one?
Whatever the middle one.
Do you mean the middle person or the middle definition? The Patrick one.
The milk.
Yes, the milk. The milk.
Oh, that was
separate.
Kate.
That was mine.
Oh, yes, sorry.
True or bluff, Kate? And the true definition. As quick as you like. So yet again, by just that whisker, Patrick's team has won. More words to clear from the OED next week. Until then, goodbye from Brian Blessed, Leslie Thomas, Kate O'Mara, Gemma Craven, Patrick Campbell, Frank Muir, and goodbye. Welcome you to Call My Bluff, where the Baron Munchausen role is, as ever, played by Frank Muir.
Thank you. Good evening. My first guest is an actress who has delighted us many times in many parts, perhaps never more so than in the recent series, The Duchess of Duke Street. I'm glad to say we'll soon be seeing a new series, and here's the Duchess herself, Gemma Jones. My number two is a columnist on The Guardian. He's a novelist, and he introduces television programmes. It's Barry Norman.
And the old three-bob note himself, Patrick Campbell.
Good evening. My first guest would almost blind you. When you see her, you can be blinded. She's a lovely actress, but she also got the extraordinary profession of running a hotel. She's called Anouska Hempel. And the other one is a bit instrumental in resurrecting the works of 92-year-old playwright called Ben Travers in Plunder, Dinsdale, Landen.
Now we have to begin. Ring the bell and we get the first word. Kamanchaka. Yes, I think so. Well, Frank Muir and his team are going to define this word, Kamanchaka, 3 different ways. 2 of the definitions are false. 1 is true. That's the one that Patrick and co are going to try and pick out. So, what of this word, Frank?
Kamanchaka. Kamanchaka is a heavy sea mist which rolls in round the coasts of Peru. And at certain times of the year, so heavy and thick is it that you hear harsh cries of "Ole! Whoops! Oh!" as Peru